Hello everyone, my name is Heather and welcome to the channel Bookables. Today I'm here to talk about one of my favorite authors of all time, Emily Henry, and I have 5 of her books right here. These are all 5 of her adult romances that she released, and I'm going to rank them for you. So I've done a lot of these author videos before where I've really deep dived into what each of their books are about, and then I rank them, so I'm kind of going to do that from here. Only I'm going to just rank them. Usually in those videos I'll go in publishing order and tell you what each one's about, then I'll rank them. I thought it's just 5 of them, I'm just gonna rank them. I will quickly show you what order they came out in publishing because I do think that's interesting, but she has written 5 romance books. She's written a couple of young adult science fiction that I don't like at all, but man, her romance, phenomenal. Emily Henry has taken the romance book world by storm with good reason. Her books are very romantic, yes, but also full of a lot of emotional depth that will one page make you smile and be giddy and have all the butterflies, and the next page kick you straight in the gut. That's what she does, and she does it good. I have given every single one of her adult romance books a 5 out of 5. I do have some that I love more than others, but for the most part, I enjoy them all. They are phenomenal reads. They are books that will stick with you. They have great side characters. They have great romance. They have great settings. I love them. I truly do. So ranking them was hard, to say the least, but I do have some all-time favorites, and I have some ones that, yes, I still love, but it's not my favorite by her, if that makes sense. But either way, let's quickly talk about her publishing orders. The first book she released in the adult romance world is Beach Read, which came out in 2020. Then she had People We Meet on Vacation, which came out the following year, 2021. You get where I'm going with this. Then in 2022, she had Book Lovers released. 2023, Happy Place. And then her last release, which literally came out last month in 2024, Funny Story. So I'm going to go with my least favorite, working up to my favorite Emily Henry book. Coming at number 5, I like this one. As time goes on, my love has kind of lessened for it. I think if maybe I would reread it, I think I would still give it a 5 out of 5. I'm not quite sure, but that is People We Meet on Vacation. I think of all of her books, this one was just the one that didn't impact me the most, if you will. And this book is all about 2 friends. It's Poppy and Alex, and they met in college. They have nothing in common. Poppy is a wild child. She's a loose cannon. She loves to just do whatever life takes her to. And Alex is very much scheduled and very kind of rigid in his way. So how they become friends, they'll never know. So basically they take a vacation together every year. It's like 1 week in summertime. She lives in New York, he lives in their small hotel, but they don't really have much contact with each other, but they always take this vacation together. But the beginning of the book, they have not talked in 2 years, and there has been a big rift. You as the reader do not know what the big rift is, but there's one. They haven't taken vacation in 2 years. They don't talk about it. They don't talk to each other. Poppy decides for one last shot. She's gonna ask him to go on one last vacation with her and kind of fix everything. Where do they go? I forget. I want to say they go somewhere in California, if I'm not mistaken, but they go on their last kind of vacation. They're gonna settle things, and you can guess where it's going. It's obviously a friends to lovers, also a second chance romance. I did really enjoy it, but out of all of the Emily Henry books, this one was my least favorite. Whether or not you'll agree with my ranking, I don't know, but it's number 5 in my book. Coming in number 4 will probably shock a lot of people because I think this is probably a lot of people's number 1. For me, it wasn't, and that is Book Lovers. This one came out in 2022. This one is really good. It's just, again, not one of my favorites. This is all about Nora, who is a literary agent. She's not one of those cute, plucky literary agents. No, she's cutthroat. She knows what she wants. It's just how she is. She's just kind of cutthroat, and that kind of men get turned off by that. But basically she is forced to take a vacation, so she goes to Sunshine Falls, North Carolina, where her little sister is, and getting ready for the birth of her new baby. And there she kind of goes, and she's kind of trying to get clients too as well, because there's some clients in North Carolina. And there she keeps running into Charlie, who is a book editor that she knows from New York, and they do not like each other. They keep running into each other in Sunshine Falls, and she's like, what the heck? And he's like, what the heck? Eventually feelings happen, but obviously this book is all about books because they start working on a book together, like kind of editing a book, if you will. And it's a beautiful love story. I will say this one is somewhat forgettable, To me at least. I know, but I did still really enjoy it. It's one, I mean, I gave it a 5 out of 5. I still stand by that rating, 5 out of 5. But when I think about this book, it doesn't fill me with a lot of joy like her other books do. And that's just me personally. I don't know, but I still obviously really enjoyed it. I'd say if you're a lover of books and editing and literary agents, things like that, read this one. Also, it's set in a very small town in North Carolina, which is a sister state to where I live. And so I really enjoyed that as well. Like, her settings are amazing. Coming in number 3 is her latest release, Funny Story. I love this one. This one was great. It was just about kind of a new beginning at life, new love, new friendships, everything. So in this book, we follow a character named Daphne. At the beginning of the book, she is engaged to, I forget, Peter. That's his name. We don't talk about him anymore. And at the beginning of the book, Peter is going on his bachelor party, which, you know, all bachelors do. And the next day he shows up at the house and he's like, I can't get married to you. I realize that I'm in love with my childhood best friend, Petra. And she's like, what the hell? All those years we were together, you told me there's something to worry about. And he's like, I know, but I just realized last night I loved her and she loves me. And Daphne has no clue what to do because they're in Michigan now. She is from Maryland and she uprooted her whole life for this guy. And so she's like, I have nowhere to live now. And then it comes in Miles, who is Petra's ex, because Petra had to go home and tell Miles, hey, I can't be in a relationship with you anymore because I realized I'm in love with my childhood best friend, Peter. And he's like, what the hell? Basically, Daphne and Miles run into each other and he's like, hey, move in with me. I know you have nowhere else to go. We can commiserate together, lick our wounds, just live in our woes, if you will. And they become roommates and they become friends and ... more. This is a book about rediscovering yourself, rediscovering love. I love the setting of this one. It's set in a very kind of coastal town in Michigan, if that's the right word, like near Lake Michigan. And the characters in this one, amazing. Side characters, phenomenal. Daphne's also a children's librarian, and that's a big part of this book because she loves what she does. She loves being a child librarian. She does story time. And as a fan of my local library, where I take my daughter to story time every single week, I was so excited to hear that and read about that. She's like putting on this big readathon that's happening, and it's just phenomenal. It's all about Daphne growing and Miles also growing, and it's definitely one of my favorites. Like, the top 3 are my most cherished Emily Henry books, in my opinion. I love this one. Highly recommend it. My number 2 is her first ever romance novel, Beach Read. I put this at number 2 because I got this in the mail in 2020. I had no clue. The cover and the title immediately, I was like, oh, and then I was like, I'll check it out, you know? And little did I know it was by an author that I have read previously before in YA that I did not enjoy. But man, this book just blew me away. The setting, the plot, the characters, phenomenal. This book follows January, who is an author, so it's kind of got that same vibe as Book Lovers, where they're both kind of about books in a book, if you get what I'm saying. And she is not doing too great. Her dad has recently passed away, and she writes romance books, and she usually writes happy ever afters, but she's in a funk because since her dad passed away, that's very sad, but she learned a lot about her dad that she never knew. Like, he kind of lived like a second life. And so she is back in her dad's house that he left to her, kind of a beachy house, and who should be her neighbor, a guy she went to college with, Augustus, and he's also an author, and they just do not get along. They haven't since they were in college. They just have very different opinions. He talks to her and he's like, look, I'm also having a writer's block. He writes a lot of really dark books. I think the book right now he's researching for is about cults and things like that. And they're both like, you know what, look, we're both in kind of have writer's block. So let's try to change genres. Maybe Augustus will write a happy ever after. She'll take him on show him romantic movies or take him on things that can be conceived as romances. And maybe that'll get him his gears going and write a happily ever after. Meanwhile, January will write some darker and maybe some more in-depth in her book. So he takes her to the cult that he was going to interview and things like that. So they kind of swap genres, if you will. But man, this again was an emotional roller coaster. It's all about January grieving, learning about her dad that she thought she knew her whole life, but she didn't. Also with Augustus, with what's going on in his family. And it's a beautiful love story with a lot of depth. This was the very first book that kind of launched Emily Henry into the romantic atmosphere and where she stayed in orbits and everything like that. But I loved it. And it's one of my favorites by her. I just adore it. And obviously coming in at number 1 was last year's release, Happy Place. Oh my gosh, this will probably be everyone's like least favorite, but it's my personal favorite because I read this book at the right time in my life. So this book is about a character named Harriet, and at the beginning of the book, Harriet and Wynne, who she is engaged to, are broken up. They have been college sweethearts. They have been super in love. Recently, they have broken up and they haven't told any of their core friends. And their core friend group is tight. They take a trip together every year. They talk to each other all the time. Like, it is a big deal, this friend group. And so Harriet's girlfriends decide, hey, let's go to like the Lobster Fest in Maine, which is just phenomenal. And Harriet's like, look, I'll tell them then. I'll tell them we're broken up then, you know, it'll be a good way to kind of ease into it. And so she arrives at Lobster Fest in Maine, and surprise, surprise, Wynne is there. And also her other best friend, I forget their names. I forget their names exactly. Please forgive me. But their other friends, guys there, and they're gonna get married. Not Harriet and Wynne, but their friends are. And it's like, surprise, this is our last year and this amazing house my dad has, and it's also our last, and we're also gonna get married. So Harriet's like, crap, we can't tell them that we're broken up. Like, our best friends are about to get married. Break them down during this. So they decide, hey, let's pretend just to be together for this week and get over it, and we'll tell them eventually in the future. We don't want to mess up their happiness now, which is understood. And this book is the one I would say does not primarily focus on romance. I would say it focuses more on the friendships, and they are all in their mid-30s. And as someone who is literally in her mid-30s, friendships are hard. Friendships are different. If you've lived to 35, I don't know why I said that. If you're my age or older or something, you know that there are different seasons of life when it comes to friendships. You have childhood friends, then you have school friends, then you have high school friends, college friends, sometimes friends after that. And it's hard to navigate those waters because sometimes you have friends that you think you'll be friends for forever, but sometimes that's not the case. And this book is literally all about that. This friend group has been tight since college, and they're all going in very, very different paths, and they worry, how can we still be friends if we're all going in different directions? How will we stay as close as we have in the past? And it just really resonated with me because I have different friendships. I have a couple of my girlfriends, we have been best friends since we have been literally 14. I'm not exaggerating. I have a couple of girlfriends that are my best friends that I have really come to love and like are my sisters in the last few years or so. I have some friends that I love with work. Sometimes some of these friends kind of go in and out of my life, and it's a hard pill to swallow, but I've learned that it's just how kind of life goes, you know? It's never going to stay the same. It's never going to be calm waters. It's always going to be rough. It's always going to be bumpy, and that's how it's going to be with friendships and relationships. So this book just hit me because I felt this so much. And there was a character in this book, the one that's getting married, that was the organizer, that always reached out and things like that. And I was like, hi, it's me. I'm the problem. I'm the one that always does that. And it's a hard pill because she's like, no one appreciates me. And I'm like, oh gosh, this is literally reading myself. But I think I just love this one so much because of that reason, how it resonated with me with the friendships and how people's life change and go through different courses of life when you're in your 30s. And that's just kind of how it goes. And you can't control it. You never will. But friendships are still really important no matter how old you are. I think it's very valuable to have friends. And I just love this one for that. So did I go on a long spiel about it? Absolutely. But a lot of people didn't like this book, and I could see why. I think for me, it's my favorite because it hit me. I read it at the right time in my life. I think if I would just read this younger, I would be like, oh, I'm not going to be able to deal with this friends and stuff. But if you read this in your mid-30s, like, you gonna get it. You are gonna get it 1,000%. Right, those are my rankings of all of Emily Henry books. Safe to say she's one of my favorite authors of all time, and I will read literally whatever she writes. Maybe not like young adult science fiction, but anything with the adult genre, girl, I'm there with bells on. Like, I'm happy. I would love to know what your favorite to least favorite books are by Emily Henry. What's your ranking? Please leave them down below. I'm sure it's going to be vastly different than mine, but I would love to know. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you.